Okay, so I just came back from Goodwill where I got 2 turtlenecks. One because I really like this color and I think it'll fit into my fall wardrobe extremely well. And this one in order to chop up and get a pattern out of. What are you doing? Okay, so I just put the shirt on and it fits okay. It fits pretty well. It is on the tighter side, but my fabric is extremely stretchy, so if anything, that's a good thing because that means I don't have to account for negative ease. So it's short on the arms. I want it to come to about like my knuckles right here. I like my shirts on the longer end, so I've got to measure that before I cut it. It's good length on the waist. The shoulders are pretty good. I mean, maybe they could come up like a little bit. That's one thing I don't like about the grading of like larger sizes is that they make this bigger when it doesn't necessarily need to be bigger, because my shoulder is like here, but they have it here, so that's like 2.5 or 1.5 inches, 2 inches over. So it fits in the bust. The neck I think is perfect. I'm just gonna make it taller so that it folds over. Okay, so I just drew on the shirt while I'm wearing it, this line. So I originally started out here, but I didn't like the way that looked when I looked in the mirror, so I made the line a little closer to the original. So it's gonna be like 3/4 of an inch smaller, and I continued the line all the way underneath the arm because it's a little tight. Because you can see here, like where my armpit starts bending, the body of the shirt is extended into the sleeve, and we don't want that as much. So opening the arm's eye a little bit will also help fit my body better. So this also means that I'm going to have to extend the sleeve cap, however much this is. So I'm going to write a note. Okay, so I've written down here that I need to make the sleeve 3.5 inches longer, and I need to extend the cap of the sleeve by 3/4 of an inch. So that's this mark right here. I'm gonna take some time to take the shirt apart, and let me show you a couple of tricks. When taking this cover stitch off, what you need to do is you take your seam ripper and you look at the hem, and you want to look for this, where the two lines of stitches have come around and connected again. And then this side of that little connection, you want to take your seam ripper and you want to pick out a couple stitches. And then you actually go to the inside and you take this cover stitch and you pick it, and it just pulls right out. Hi, Butterscotch. Hi, baby. Okay, so now a trick for pulling out like serging in this thread quickly is to go look at it, and then you'll see loops that go like this and back, but you'll also see stitches right here. So what you do is you cut one stitch and then you pick it out a couple, and they go down the line like 2 inches or so, and then you cut a stitch and then you can pull it right out. And then use this technique for the second row of stitches, and I'll show you what happens. Now this makes your cleaning process a lot easier. So I've pulled out this second row of stitches and the first row of stitches, and that just leaves this serging thread.
off like magic. And then you don't have to go through and pick everything clean. And it opens it up. Okay, so at the neck, it looks like it's just another cover stitch. Okay, so here are all the pieces laid out. We've got the 2 sleeves, the front, the back, and the collar.
And one of the really cool things about making a pattern this way is that you already have a mock-up and a pattern, and it just took some time to take it apart, and it was like under $6. It's basically a pattern for you, already made and proven to work. So that's, if you're getting into sewing and you want to make some new things, just go find something you want to make, take it apart, trace it, and sew it back together. Super easy. Hi, buddy. Are you being a good boy? Yes, he's being good. Okay, I have decided to do something I would consider kind of a radical move. And that's to actually cut this shirt to fit the pattern better. So I just gotta smooth this line out, and I'm gonna leave like a 1/4 inch seam allowance, what they've been given here, because my machine is that's all it's gonna give me anyway. Okay, so I've cut this and I've lined up the back to the front, took the scrap of what I cut off from this panel, and I went like this, and then I went around and went like this. So now I've just got to make that line cut off about the same amount as I cut off on this side. These patterns are ready to go. Okay, so according to my calculations and what I wrote down, I need to extend the sleeve cap by 3/4 of an inch. So I'm just gonna take my nifty drafting ruler and do that and add 1/4 seam allowance. Okay, so I added to the bottom of the sleeve to make the cuff. I wanted it 3 inches longer off the get-go, and then I added even more so that I could have a nice fold cuff, and then nothing is, there's not 2 pieces, it's just 1 piece. So I've measured the height of the collar, and of course this has been taken apart and unopened, and it's 5 inches. And I want the collar to be able to roll over a little bit, so, or more than a little bit. I want it to at least roll over in half. So I have just decided to use these 2 pieces of copy paper taped together as my pattern for the collar. I'm going to add seam allowance, I'm going to draw in on the margins, and that's just going to be my collar, and I'm done. I love you, but you had your supper. You had your supper. You're such a good boy. Oh, he's saying hi. Good boy. Good boy. Good boy. Okay, so I've laid out all the pattern pieces except one of the sleeves, which I'm going to have to cut after I cut these 4 things. I have decided that I will add the extra couple of inches at the bottom of the front and back panels, or front and back, and I'm just going to use this area to cut the sleeve, which leaves me all of this extra fabric for who knows what to do next. If you have any ideas or suggestions, you can drop those in the comments. I am open to them because I don't have a plan for this. I just have a plan for that. I guess I needed less fabric than I thought I did. Who'd have thunk? So I have everything laid out, front, left side, right side, the collar, and the back is on the back of the dress form. Now I just have to sew it together. If you've ever studied knit shirts, you may have noticed that in the shoulder seam, a lot of companies, manufacturers, put a little piece of plastic,
It might also be ribbon or another piece of stiffer fabric. And that's to prevent these shoulders from stretching out over time, because you see this is very much wanting to stretch. So in order to copy that design, I'm going to take this twill tape and then sew this into the shoulder seams, just to prevent any unwanted stretching. I'm gonna sew it here and here. I'm just gonna do it really quick. Okay, so I've got the twill tape in the seam. Unfortunately, I don't have a color that matches, or a color of thread that matches this. So I'm using like an orangey yellow, which as you can see on camera is like not at all the right color, but it's the closest one I got, so that's what I gotta work with. But I wanted to try to demonstrate what difference this makes, because here you see this is quite stretchy, but here it's not stretching in the slightest. So that's going to really extend the life of this garment. My next step, of course, is to sew the shoulder seams. I'm going to stitch it together with the sewing machine and then serge it. And this is what it looks like. We've got all of the threads, nice. They look like they're supposed to be where they are. And I wanted to show you that I'm using that special nylon thread on my right and left needles instead of on the loopers. And this is because it's stronger and it's more resistant. It's more resistant to snapping, so that this garment, again, will last longer. Okay, so I do like the way this stitch it first, serge it after looks, but I don't like the idea of having to switch my thread between the machines every time I do another seam. So what I'm going to use is I'm going to use some orange thread. This is the only orange thread that I have to use on this, and I'm just going to use that. It doesn't match at all, but it is orange. Next, I'm going to pin and stitch these two sleeves into their place. One little tip is that if you have this type of thread and it keeps getting stuck in your machine, you notice there's a little notch here. You always have that down or towards the end of the machine, so that the thread is coming off in this direction instead of coming off in this direction. Because if it comes off in this direction, it gets stuck. When it comes off in this direction, it comes right out. Just a little tip. Okay, so I've got the sleeves stitched in. This is the back, this is the front. And I think the seam turned out really clean. Like, I love the way this looks. It looks so professional. It looks like it was, manufactured, not just created by hand. So now I've got to stitch the sides together and just open it up like this. This seam to this seam, pin it, stitch it, sew it. Or I should say, pin it, sewing machine, serger. The sleeves are attached to the body and it looks like a shirt. My last couple of steps are to add the collar and to create the cuffs and then to hem the bottom of the shirt. If you went to school, elementary school in like the 2010s or early 20s or 2010s or 10 years before that, you might remember that it was really cool to pull your sleeves down past your hands and then have your hands covered by your sleeves. I think I went a little too far on this. Now I've got I've got helicopter arms
But it fits really nice. And keep in mind, this is over another shirt. So these cuffs are gonna look kind of like, but that's what it looks like. Maybe I should have had a detachable cuff. But I really like how it's fitting. I love my shirts slim, because I don't like all the extra fabric, especially like in armpit areas. So this fits super well. And I did add like 3 inches to the hem. So that's for more tucking in. You know, I like tucking my shirts in.
For this next step, I am quite fortunate to have access to a industrial cover stitch machine. Now, most people don't. So another way to finish this would be with like a zigzag stitch. Okay, so I've cover stitched the hem of the shirt, and now I just have to put the collar in and do the cuffs. I also stopped by Walmart and picked this color up by memory. It's pretty close. It's closer in person than it is on the camera, but I'm going to use this instead of that light orange that I was using the other day. Okay, in order to sew the collar, I'm going to sew it hot dog style. I'm going to sew this end to this end, and then I'm going to press it open instead of serging it closed. I'm going to press it open, and then I'm going to sew it hot dog style, just like a basting stitch around the edge. Okay, so I've got the collar all made up, and I'm going to keep the seam at the center back. So I'm just keeping an eye on where I put my twill tape, because I know that's the back. So I'm just going to line this seam up with that side of the neck. I'm just going to go around all around and pin it. Okay, so I've got the collar stitched in, and I think what I'm gonna do is just some like, I don't know, basic things, maybe preventative. I'm going to try to top stitch down this line so that the collar folds very nice and evenly. And I am also going to just top stitch down this part of the collar. I might also try to be sneaky and do some top stitching along the collar at the sides, because if I'm very careful, I could stitch in the ditch in one of these ribs and the stitches won't show. I'm going to do test piece first to check that theory, but if it is so, I'm going to do that.
Okay, so I just did that test piece I was talking to you about, and you can see here it's kind of visible because I'm not in the ditch, but up here you can't see it unless I open it up. So I am going to go ahead with tacking it at the sides, because that'll just make the collar look a lot better.
I like this. I kind of think the frilly neckline would look cool too. Let me bring up the picture real quick. You can see in like all of these pictures that I've got like these little waves, like ripples around the neckline and a sleeve cuff. This is the only picture I actually have of it with a cuff. I decided to go with like the traditional cuff at the neck and sleeve just because of the ease of construction. I just think it'll look, yeah, it was easier and it'll last longer because the stitches aren't as likely to come out. That's why I went with the cuff. I still kind of like this though, with like the ruffles at the edges. I don't know, maybe I'll make another shirt with a different color and have this like style. Now that I have the pattern down, I can make as many as I want. Okay, it might not show up on camera too well, but I have a mark here. And this is where the knuckles come on my arm when I put these sleeves on. So I have all of this extra material to make the cuff out of, which is too much, I think. I have here, it looks like this is 13 inches for the cuff. So what I believe, at least what I'm going to try to do, is I'm going to try to fold this
down like 6 inches inside, stitch it. Well, I'm going to serge the edges first. I'm going to fold it inside so that this goes in that end 6 inches, and then the cuff will be sticking out. Okay, so I've got it all folded up, and the inside cuff is coming up all the way to here. So I have about 3 inches extra material that I don't need, because I only really need it to fold up on the inside to like here in order to not be seen. So I'm gonna unfold this, and I think however much this is, let's just use the board. It's to here. Let me feel it. It's to here. So that's 3 inches extra. So I'm just gonna go ahead and I'm gonna cut 4 inches. That way it'll stop here. Okay, now I'm gonna say a very fond farewell to my little helicopter friends. I'm gonna chop it off at the 4-inch mark, which is right here. Maybe I can use these as cuffs on something else. This does look kind of cute too. I could very well imagine this going at the end of a sweater or something. Or a shirt. This is really cute. I'm just gonna serge the ends of these 2 sleeves real quick off camera. Okay, my next step is to stitch this at this level on the inside. Here's the turtleneck that I drew up back last year. And then here's another view with the skirt I actually made. The cuffs are slightly different, but it's the same, basically. So here's the sketch. Here's the final. I think it turned out really well. It fits like a glove. I love the slim fit because I don't, as I said in my last clip like this, I don't like the extra like bulk because it just makes me feel like I'm swimming in fabric, which you would think I would love to do because I love fabric and sewing, but I don't in my day-to-day life. I love the way the neck turned out. The stitching on the sides, the back, and then down here really help make it more professional. It just helps it lay flatter, cleaner, and you're not like fussing with it every time you put it on. You just fold it, there it is. The cuffs are nice, but I have to figure out some way to make them more like the neck, where I just put it on, don't have to think about it. So I might have to go through and put some tiny stitches, discreet stitches. The hem looks nice. I kind of like the wider hem. I had originally wanted to have like an inch wide hem. This is more like 1.5 inches, but this is all going to get tucked in underneath my clothes. I don't generally wear things not tucked in. So I love it. It's perfect fall color, and I've had this fabric since last year and I finally made it. I think it turned out really nice. I'd like to extend a big shout out to all 45 of my subscribers. My last video, for me, kind of exploded, so I'd really like to thank everyone who watched it. It means a lot to me. I really appreciate it. Thank you for taking the time to watch me create new things. Well, I'll see you in a couple of weeks.